Hello, everybody. For those of you who have been joining us, you know that this is the IMG Success Stories, and we have another match that I'm very excited to talk about today. You know me as Amanda. I'm the Director of Communications. You can always reach out to us if you have any questions, but let's get talking with our guest today. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi, guys. So my name is Dr. Yash Bhavsar. I'm originally from India, and I did my graduation from Ukraine, from Odessa National Medical University. And I'm a graduate basically from 2019.
So you're an older grad, so you've got a little bit more of the YOG then.
Yeah, that's correct.
So when did you decide, did you know when you graduated that you wanted to come to the US, or is this like something you discovered recently?
Yes, so I had a senior in my university who was preparing for his step one when I, got into the university. So yeah, I definitely had some lead with the USMLE. And plus I had a cousin who is an internist in California. So that way I was kind of prepared for the whole journey.
When did you start like studying for USMLEs? When did you start like getting your application together for residency?
I started studying for step one right at the end of my third year. And initially it was really hard, figuring out the resources and everything. But it wasn't until I discovered New World, I felt I wasn't ready enough. But finally, as I gathered through the resources and I, had some good study partners with me, I think the journey got easier, and I found Matcher Resident towards the end of step two. So that made the job even easier and killed all my anxiety of how to find the programs, how to find rotations, etc.
So did you know that you were planning on applying for the 2023 match? Were you thinking of applying in other matches, or how did that come to?
So yeah, that's a great question. This is my second match. So I had no clue when I was going to apply, but I just had a brief idea that I was targeting a 2022 match, and I did apply to 2022 match successfully, but unfortunately I didn't match. So I gathered what I went wrong and, tried filtering out the program list, because I think that was something really important that, held me from being matched last cycle.
So as a reapplicant, did you apply for the same specialties, or did you open up your specialties? I know you said you kind of changed which programs you maybe were a little bit more on about the criteria to make your chances a little bit better for you to get that interview. But did it change your choice of specialty at all?
Yes, I did change my specialty. So it's a funny story. I was first interested in psych. So there were two specialties in mind, internal medicine and psych, but I always wanted to explore psych a little more. So I went on, did my rotations, but I found out that the part I loved in psychiatry was outpatient and not inpatient. So that was kind of a disconnect. And I figured that, rather than just doing this for the rest of my life, I might as well do something that I love. And I shifted back to internal medicine.
Okay, so you kind of, so as a reapplicant, you focus more on internal medicine. Did you get an additional experience in IM? Did you get a new letter of recommendation? Like, how did you, when you said you reflected on your application and looked for how you could fix it, what stood out to you?
Yes, definitely. It was initially it was initially a challenging decision, but as later I talked with my cousin, I was able to get my hands on to a couple of contacts. I did 2 virtual-based rotation and 1 in-person rotation, and I also was able to get an in-person research observership back in my country. Kind of like, made my application complete, and I was confident to apply this cycle.
Probably it helped too coming into the 2023 match, because you knew you wanted to do IM. You weren't as confused anymore. You now had that experience to back it up. You felt confident in yourself. So that probably, you could tell from an applicant, from like a program director point of view, that you now had kind of found yourself as who you were a little bit more as a doctor.
Yes, definitely. That is true. I mean, that was the whole point. I knew I had to switch a whole different specialty, and it wasn't something even close. It was kind of like, oh, the opposite specialty. So I did have to communicate a lot on my personal statement. I did have to, alter my CV in a specific way. But I was fortunate enough to have to be in contact with a great program director in New Jersey who really helped me out through this journey. And
You got that connection through your cousin or just by reaching out like to people? How did you get that connection?
so I got that connection from an agency. Its name is USMLE's RT. And I just emailed the program director, and he asked me to enroll through that organization. And that's how I connected with them.
Okay, great. Okay, good to know. Did you apply to more programs this time around, or did you just kind of like hone in more on the programs that you felt would be a good fit for you and you were a good fit for them?
So when I was looking at the internal medicine list, it was quite different. The states and the programs were quite different from what they were inside. So I definitely had to do the research again. I went through the Residency Explorer tool, FRIDA, Natural Resident, of course. It's a funny story that the program I matched in was listed in Match a Resident. So it was great that way.
I love to hear that. So, going into interview season, you don't have to share how many you got if you don't want to, but how did you prepare? Like, did you do an interview prep? I'm sure, you did in 2022, maybe that helped because you kind of had a feeling of what interviews were going to be like, but did you kind of change all your prep this year?
I took an interview prep in my previous cycle for Match a Resident. This time I didn't take it, but I found that that tool and especially the lectures from the teacher really great. And what I did this cycle is I worked with, so I rehearsed with my cousin, and I also rehearsed with a couple of friends over here. And I found out that, a little tweaks like looking into the camera and being concise, getting everything on notes instead of having a script, all that kind of like flowed when I finally started doing the interview. So I definitely could see myself improving this cycle for the interviews.
Amazing. I love to hear that. So again, probably that confidence a little bit. You kind of knew more of who you were and you didn't need like a script. You were just kind of letting yourself be yourself.
Exactly. I was like scared in the beginning that I'm changing the specialty, so I'm going to be bombarded with questions regarding that. But fortunately, the program directors were very kind on that. They just some did not ask, but some of the interviewers asked. Even if they asked, it was like a polite statement rather than interrogation, something like that.
Oh, that's nice. So, and you felt confident too, because you knew why you changed specialties. So you weren't, you could answer that confidently. Great. So you gone through your interviews, you're feeling more confident in yourself. When you started your rank assist, your rank letter, I'm sure I've heard that from people. They say like they changed it a couple times. I always ask, like, did you know right away? But so far, no one has said yes, I knew right away. But how was that for you?
I was like crystal clear on that. I didn't
You
give a
were.
second look. Yeah, I didn't give a second look. Basically, that's what I figured throughout the math journey. If you keep even the USMLEs and the math journey, if you keep changing your decisions, you have the highest chance of making something wrong along the path. So just standing up to your first decision is always what I've been looking for.
So you put your rank order in, you figured out. How was it figuring out where you matched? Like, were you so excited? How was match day for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I honestly didn't expect to match. I was like kind of skeptical, but it felt great. I mean, a boy who came from a small town, matching into a specialty, not the first choice, but everything works. Finally, I got the match, and that matters.
And it probably worked out for the best that you ended up matching an IM and not psych, because maybe
Yeah.
psych wasn't exactly where you meant to end up anyways. So I'm happy to hear that. I do think everything happens for a reason and you persevered,
Yeah.
so you made it through. What would you
Yeah.
tell people who are like maybe applying right now or reapplicants who maybe are getting down on themselves and aren't sure if they should do it again? What advice would you give?
I think when I was, introspecting whether I should apply for this cycle or not, I went through a lot of stories. And what I found out is if you keep applying every cycle, of course, if you have that financial ability to apply, and if every card is in place, you will match some year. That's what I've
Yeah.
seen. So because while applying to the next cycle every year, you essentially are just improving your CV. So people tend to forget that fact, and at the third cycle or fourth cycle, you're going to have a long CV
Yeah.
with a lot of rich experiences. So don't give up. Work on your CV and personal statement. Have it proofreaded with the faculty, not just with your friends, because your friends might be in the shoes where you are similarly. So having an expert's opinion matters a lot.
That's great advice. Just keep going, and there's no point in stopping because it will happen eventually. And that I just had an interview. She said the same thing. Like, as much as maybe it takes a little bit longer, you have all that time now. You've grown, you've learned, you have experience, and you've had those skills now. So you just need to put that forward and be confident in yourself and why you went through with being a doctor to begin with.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
It sounds like you're passionate and you weren't going to give up either way. You were like, I'm going to keep going, third or fourth cycle. I'm gonna have it.
Yeah, that's the way to go, I guess. Yeah. And especially internal medicine is a specialty where, it's a very sweet buffer because even if especially if you don't know what you want to do in the beginning, it's a great specialty because it's non-US IMG friendly if you are a candidate in that position. And there are a lot of specialties ahead in your path, which you can explore, do fellowships, etc., etc. So yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. As always, people, you can reach out to me. I'm sure that Yash would love if you want to reach out to him with all of your questions. He'll be
Sure,
there for
definitely.
you.
Thank you so
His
much.
link will be in the description, so you guys can find him on Instagram, I'm sure. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.